Hello and welcome back. Before we get to part 2, Real Talk, please allow us to fulfill our capitalistic duty and plug our Patreon, the Contrarian Supplements.
That's right. For a small fee, you too can help the Contrarians rage on.
We have tiers ranging from just $1 to $10. It all depends on how much content you can handle.
Starting at $1, it's a Travoltis tier, which gets you access to new bonus episodes focusing on a new movie every month, as well as access to the patron chat. Join other patrons in making fun of our opinions.
Moving up to $3 is the Winonis tier, which unlocks access to our pre-recording notes, our video reviews, and our spin-off show, Contrarians After Hours.
That's a more laid-back space where we talk about other things we've been watching, reading, playing, thinking about. Sometimes it's related to the movies being covered in the main feed, but it usually isn't.
If you want to be part of those patrons who help us shape the show by telling us which movies to tackle, that's when you sign up for the $5 tier, the Embries, and the $10, the Gads.
Finally, all supplement subscribers, regardless of the tier, get access to our archive of special patron projects. Head over to patreon.com/contrarianprime now to join.
Be sure to listen through the end of the episode to find out what's coming up to the Contrarian Supplements this month. Now, it's time for some Real Talk.
Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Our fugitive has been on the run for 90 minutes. Average foot speed over uneven ground, barring injury, is 4 miles an hour. That gives us a radius of 6 miles. What I want out of each and every one of you is a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, or doghouse in that area. Checkpoints go up at 15 miles. Your fugitive's name is Dr. Richard Kimball. Go get him.
And we are back with our best on-screen duo of Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. Having beat out Mary Stuart Masterson and Johnny Depp for Benny and June, Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington for Philadelphia, Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks for Sleepless in Seattle, and Dana Carvey and Mike Myers for Wayne's World 2. Again, what just an insane assortment. There's no discrimination here at the MTV Movie Awards of 1994. Just fuck it. Anything and everything is eligible.
Alex, your love for Wayne's World 2 is well documented here and on the Patreon channel. Do you agree with this? Ford and Jones over Myers and
Carvey? Yeah, sure. No, most of my love of Wayne's World 2, I'm trying to think if there's any like direct interaction between Wayne and Garth that's like one of the high points of that movie for me. But that's more of an interesting like footnote of a pairing, because it's like Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray. What about Bob? The story was like they just fucking hated each other and didn't talk, like say a single word to each other except for, you know, when the cameras were rolling. So Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, yes, a great pair. I think the more fitting award, and probably something we're going to spend a lot of time kind of fixating on in this, was the Academy Award that did go to Tommy Lee Jones for his role as Deputy Gerard at the 1994 Academy Awards, hosted by Whoopi Goldberg. There you go.
Oh.
And for a year, that's what I always associate the 94 Oscars with, is when Schindler's List just fucking wreaked havoc, you know, cleaned up. Ended up winning 7 awards out of 12 nominations. And that's the year of Tom Hanks won for Philadelphia, because then the next year he won for Forrest Gump. I always think of that as one of the years that was like really
depressing,
but also the standard Academy affair of like the awards movies. Not to take anything away from Philadelphia or Schindler's List, because those are both obviously, it's not like, you know, Crash or something like those weren't movies that were just made with the intention of getting awards, but when you see them dominate like the Oscars, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then like Holly Hunter won for The Piano. So to see all that, and then to come to the best supporting actor category and to see that Tommy Lee Jones took it home for The Fugitive, that fucking rules, man. He beat out Leo for Gilbert Grape.
Ray Fiennes,
our
right?
buddy Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
Yes, good one. John Malkovich for In the Line of Fire, and Pete Postlethwaite for In the Name of the Father.
So Ben Kingsley wasn't nominated for Schindler's List?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, I don't know why I thought that both him and Fiennes were battling it out, split the votes so that Tommy Lee Jones could climb to the top.
And we'll obviously come back to it here before too long, our thoughts on Tommy Lee Jones respectively. But you know what I mean? When you read Schindler's List, The Piano, Philadelphia, The Piano, that's when Anna Paquin won. She was like 12 or 13, right?
Uh-huh. She's a little girl.
But yeah, all that, and then you come back around and it's the summer blockbuster where Harrison Ford has to outrun a train. And, Tommy Lee Jones is a really sarcastic dick throughout this that, at the end of the movie ends with him like smiling for the first time in the whole movie. So that's the kind of shit that we'll always say. That's me at 2 a.m, can't sleep and just browsing random years of the Oscars and reading over. And then I just fist pump to myself and say, hell yeah. So Tommy Lee Jones took home the big one for this. And for the purposes of what we're doing here, it's also a movie that had its fair share of screen time at the MTV Movie Awards. Before we get into all that, though, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a big boy. It's up there, Julio. But that also means there's people that did not like it. John Golson on there. I was reading over the people I follow on Letterboxd, their reviews. He gave it 3 stars. He said it wasn't as good as he remembered. I'm like, what did you remember, brother?
In his memory, Harrison Ford cries a lot more.
There you go.
Maybe he's talking about the TV show. I don't know, John. Explain yourself. But no, he's not here. There's only 3 rotten quotes that I could pull from the app. We're going to start with Ralph Novak from People Magazine, who says, "The film treats this profoundly preposterous plot as if it were a serious idea."
What's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, Ralph, did you want the comedy? The comedy version of The Fugitive? Harrison Ford keeps escaping like a Mr. Bean type of movie where he's just pratfalls his way to
Johnny
freedom.
English,
Yeah. Jay Boyar from the Orlando Sentinel says, "While there are actors in this film, there isn't much room for acting." Imagine saying that, Alex. But he continues, "The rapid editing and near absence of dialogue reduces the actors to action figures with colorful labels pasted on their foreheads."
Absence of dialogue? What the fuck?
There isn't much room for acting. Wow.
Man.
Like, I get it. I'm glad that you gave us the context of the other
Show
movies.
this guy a Lord and Miller movie.
Maybe he just came out of, this was a triple feature. So he did Philadelphia, Schindler's List, and then The Fugitive. What is this superficial bullshit? Man, Tommy Lee Jones gets some pretty awesome monologues here.
Yes. There's plenty of dialogue in this. Yeah, I award you no points and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. We're going to close with John Wirt from The Advocate, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. "In a morally confused age, a take-no-prisoners, seemingly heartless predator like Tommy Lee Jones's Gerard could easily be elected to high political office."
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, and most certainly now in 2025.
He's charming. He can be.
Fucking more charismatic than half the people in government right now. So, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I could see him winning by a landslide.
I did want to mention also, just skimming over here, we have covered films that were also nominated alongside Schindler's List, Philadelphia, The Piano, and The Fugitive. Dave got Best Original Screenplay. And
Nice.
we've covered that film before. And then taking it all the way back to episode numero uno, Nightmare Before Christmas was nominated for Best Visual Effects. So a year we've had a little bit of a footprint in.
It was time to go back to 93.
That's right.
It's been too long.
6'1", 180, brown hair, brown eyes, beard. See anyone like that around?
Every time I look in the mirror, pal. Except for the beard, of course.
As I mentioned at the beginning of Contrarian's Corner, August 6th of 1993, budget of $44 million, box office return of nearly $370 million. A sensation, as it were, based off a television show from the 60s. One of the more memorable posters of the 90s, a VHS cover that, I have my list, my ever-growing list of, the memory is unlocked. And man, I remember I don't remember which video rental store it would have been that I went to, but I remember just going to one. I can see it now in my head, just like the wall of The Fugitive. You know, like when the big movie hit the home video. That was the thing with like Titanic. You know, there was just Blockbuster had to run that campaign, guaranteed to be in stock. But the poster is pretty similar, but the VHS box art, I remember, did have the red text instead of white. And so it popped a little bit more.
We're talking about Harrison Ford running towards you, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay. In the pictures, like at a tilt, it's like at a 45-degree angle. Yeah. Harrison Ford is the fugitive.
There has to be a re-release where they put Academy Award winner Tommy Lee Jones chasing after him. You can see him in the background.
That would have been if that movie came out in the late 2009s, pretty much up until they stopped making home videos a viable option. I've talked about it on here before, but we've done like 300 of these, so I'm not surprised if it's like slipped through the cracks. There was that very weird trend of the DVD and Blu-ray releases. The box art would be drastically different than the poster. And, you know, there had to be studies behind it of like, well, this catches someone's eye more. So the Drive one, I remember, was so weird. It was like this horribly photoshopped, like full body shot of Ryan Gosling with like a car like behind him, you know, trying to get like the Fast and the Furious type shit. So what my point is, yes, if this movie came out at that point in time, like Tommy Lee Jones would have been crudely photoshopped, like behind Harrison Ford with like his hands kind of at his side, like, you know, no, yeah, reaching forward, like, you know.
For the Criterion, it would be a take on the No Country for Old Men poster where Harrison Ford's in the middle and then there's just like a giant Tommy Lee Jones in the background.
There are no clean getaways. Being serious here for a second, what would the Criterion be? I think it would just be a shot of the dam, like a wide outside shot of the dam, you know, and we don't see any characters. It's just that.
If you know, you know. Exactly.
No. It would be Sykes's drawer that has the prosthetic arm in it.
That's a second disc. That's the supplement.
Well, then, yeah, we got to talk about what the disc art's going to be. Shit, I don't know, a train coming off the tracks or something. No, what are we doing? We're not thinking hard enough on this. The Criterion box art would, of course, be a prescription bottle of Provisic. You know I'm right. You can see it in your head right now.
Right, but so it says Provisic. Or does it say The Fugitive on the bottle?
I don't know. We have further discussion to have here. A movie that definitely, I think, at this stage of the game would be worthy of a Criterion inclusion. Just saying, look, man, it's a 90s action film starring two of the biggest movie stars, not just of that era, but God damn it, he's Han Solo. And Tommy Lee Jones, definitely the king of the 90s. This remains his only Academy Award is for The Fugitive, which is kind of insane, but also awesome. And the movie, I was trying to be as, you know, over the top as I can be, but it's in truth, it's literally one of the most like known lines and exchanges from a movie ever, in which he says, "I didn't kill my wife." He says, "I don't care." That will be until long after you and I are on the ground, Julio. Every time at the Academy Awards or on television, when you see one of those like montages that's meant to express the magic of movies, you know, that will always be in there. That will be in there. I Am Your Father will be in there. Am I Flying Jack?
Life is Like a Box of Chocolates.
There you go. Yep. Hey, Clarence, way to go. Is that the... I can't remember if that's always the clip they use. Or no, the clip from It's a Wonderful Life is always him running down the street celebrating.
Yes. Yeah.
You get our point. I forgot it was that early in the movie. And to me, that makes it even better. Because what you were joking about in the first half is that it does seem like a line set up to be like halfway through the movie or even kind of leading into the, you know, nearing the conclusion to show like how callous Tommy Lee Jones's character is or whatnot. But it's so awesome because it's the first like interaction the two of them have. And it literally is just what you said. Is Tommy Lee Jones just be like, brother, this is my job. I don't give a shit. You're like, you're not supposed to be where you are right now, and I've been sent here to get you.
It definitely, by putting it that early in the movie, it sets up, I mean, at least it did for me. It set up the expectation that we're going to see Tommy Lee Jones care by the end of the movie, right? We open the movie with him saying, I don't care. And so the movie is going to teach him to care, which it kind of does. Like, they don't really overdo it. Obviously, they hammer it home at the very end. That last scene was like, I thought you didn't care. Don't tell anybody. Oh, so he cares now. But that is a pretty good bit of a theme there. Just like, there's an action movie, but really it's also about a guy that's doing his job, and he has to decide at some point, do I go the extra mile? Do I go above and beyond what I'm supposed to be doing and try to investigate? Like, because, he's a U.S. Marshal. My understanding is his job is to like catch Harrison Ford and bring him back to justice, not to solve the mystery, right? Like, that's what the police is supposed to be doing. So for him to really become involved to the point where he kind of cracks the case alongside Harrison Ford, I guess in parallel, that's his arc. That's what the Harrison Ford character doesn't have, right? The Harrison Ford is just this machine that keeps going forward. It's like, I will not be stopped, and I will get to the end. I'll get my revenge and so on. And I mean, he's great, but I think what makes the movie memorable is the Tommy Lee Jones character. I don't want to sound like I'm discounting what Harrison Ford brings to the movie, because he's great. He does what he's supposed to be doing. He's a movie star, the action hero, whatever. But
yeah, so like, just a jumping off point, if we can like take a pause real quick in what you were saying, what would you say is his best acting performance? Harrison Ford, that is, because this is like what he does. He's the big action star.
You switched the samples and the pathology reports. Did you kill Lentz too, huh?
Can we get some security in here, please?
Did you? He falsified his research so that our DU-90 could be approved and Devlin McGregor could give you Provasic.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I know as far as what's beloved, right? I will always pick Indiana Jones over Han Solo.
And he's great as Indiana Jones.
He is. And I think that he probably hits more notes. Like, he has more layers as Indiana Jones than Han Solo. I think that with Han, basically, he's just like the space pirate, and then he has the relationship with Leia, and that's kind of it, right? He has his friendship with Luke, and he becomes kind of a hero, the leader of the resistance and all that. But with Indiana Jones, you see him, he has the third movie, what he does with his dad. That whole thing is, I think it makes the character so rich. But of course, you don't want to say that that's the peak of his acting, because it feels like, oh, well, it's just a Hollywood blockbuster, right?
Well, what would Blade Runner be? What like the pretentious answer would be, or like the correct answer? That putting that in quotations.
Maybe no. I mean, I think he's great in Blade Runner, but that's not. He's just playing the noir detective in a way. He's done some stuff that I haven't seen that is, I think, Presumed Innocence. Speaking of memorable posters, I always remember being kind of disturbed by the poster of Presumed Innocence, because I was like, that is Han Solo, but it looks like a very dark drama. So I've never watched it. He was Jack Ryan in at least 2 or 3 movies. Mm-hmm. Then I love 42. I don't know that that's a high acting point in his career, but it's fun to see him play something else. I don't know, man. He's an action star, and there's nothing wrong with it, Exactly.
My immediate argument would be, we have no actors like this anymore, and we're worse off for it. I think I have heard people before say that he wasn't a good actor. He was just like an action star. And it's like, go fuck yourself. Like, it's, how cool he's Han Solo again. Those movies, the Star Wars films are obviously not a collection of the greatest actors that we've ever seen. But at the same time, especially if we're just talking about the original trilogy, everyone's so good in their roles, but man, he comes across so fucking cool. And Indiana Jones, for crying out loud, man.
Yeah.
And I was watching this with that beard at the beginning. I was like, man, this some people kind of might laugh at the idea of him being a heartthrob at one point in time, because, you know, we've come from a generation now where it's, you know, the Goslings and I don't know who's like a hot guy now,
like in the vein of Harrison Ford, like because
what I'm saying is like young people today would laugh at you and I if we told them, which is true, that like when this movie came out, couples would go see these movies because the guy gets the action movie and the woman gets to see Harrison Ford. Like he was kind of like, you know, a sexy guy.
It has to be Gosling. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind, and I think it's pretty accurate. It's funny
when you put their faces next to each other. I mean, look at the fucking 2049 poster.
Yep,
it's just
exactly.
Like, okay, some things have changed a little bit, but I was saying like at the beginning of like obviously it's Indiana Jones with the shirt fucking unbuttoned and the fucking 5 o'clock shadow sweating. He was a good looking cat there, but then with the beard at the beginning of this, it was like zaddy Harrison Ford showing up, man.
Well, there is an alpha maleness that doesn't have to be toxic, right? Like that's the thing. We've you always like to talk about the pendulums swinging, and I don't know if we'll ever come around to where
we're never getting back to where someone who looked like Nick Nolte was considered the sexiest man in the world. I'm sorry,
you never know. I mean, maybe not in our lifetime, but eventually, you know, it stands to reason that you could come around to a point where. Right now, the problem, and it's not a problem in the sense that you know, it's a bad thing, but the idea of the real life people that want to be like alpha male protagonists of their own lives, you know, unfortunately they turn out to be assholes. They're not like Han Solo and Indiana Jones who actually have like souls and they're empathetic and whatever. And so the new alternative protagonist has come out. That's not the Harrison Ford type. It's just somebody that's, you know, a little less macho, less alpha, and then, you know, it's Ryan Gosling, and that's fine. He's a great actor. But yeah, it's like you don't get action stars like Harrison Ford anymore. Partly, I guess, because the market is no longer asking for those action stars, and if we ever come around to where the market asks for them again, then you'll get them again. But I mean, look, James Bond. What's his name? Daniel Craig, right? Yeah. Like his James Bond is kind of rough, right? He's like built like a big dude, and he's not suave in the way that previous James Bonds were suave. So there is, you know, still a little bit of that.
Yeah, he's a different type of dude than Pierce Brosnan.
Yes, yeah. So in that sense, you know, but that was still like how long ago? I mean, and he's done. Like it'll be interesting to see who the next James Bond is and which way he leans. But yes, I mean, I don't know when we're going to get another Harrison Ford, and specifically Harrison Ford in movies like The Fugitive and what are his Jack Ryan movies? Is it In the Line of Fire, Clear and Present Danger? I think that one for sure.
I'm just going through his movies now. Air Force One, what a classic.
Get Off My Plane. Yeah, that's just, I mean, that was it. You know, that was a phase. Mm-hmm. But they still work. You know, you watch a movie like this and it doesn't feel dated in the way that some other things that we've moved past do. But kind of like coming back around to what started us on this this side of the conversation of Harrison Ford, I think, and I'm not alone. I mean, a lot of quotes and things that I read online that kind of express the same idea. Tommy Lee Jones steals the movie from him.
Oh, absolutely.
But I wonder how Harrison Ford feels about it. He seems kind of like a chill guy. You know, he has that gruff persona. He doesn't like to do press junkets and all that stuff, but also partly feels like he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care.
Did you see that one? He's in that new Marvel movie, right?
Not the new one, but the one from a couple months ago. He was Red Hulk.
Okay, well, I just saw a clip from like a press junket where this guy from some, you know, comic book website was like, did you know you were considered by Tim Burton to play the role of Batman in the 1989 Batman movie? Did you see this?
No.
And then Harrison Ford like drops his head into his hands and he picks his head up. He goes, fuck, I could have had a career.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to believe that he's happy that Tommy Lee Jones got the Oscar, that he's proud of the movie and the work that they did, because obviously Tommy Lee Jones wouldn't get the Oscar probably, or wouldn't get the acclaim or as much acclaim if he didn't have Harrison Ford to play off of. Hence, you know, best on-screen duo. But at the end, yes, I would like to think that he doesn't care. That TLJ ends up being the most memorable performance in the movie. It was kind of it was just kind of how it has to be, the way that they chose to tell that story, because it's Tommy Lee Jones is the guy that goes through the changes and the charming guy, and Harrison Ford just has to be the action lead.
Do you remember what I told you in the tunnel?
We ought to be sipping some whiskey.
Sam.
Yeah, I remember, well, it was noisy. I think you said something like, you didn't kill your wife.
Remember what you told me?
I remember you were pointing my gun at me.
Would you prefer to watch a Fugitive movie that focuses more on Kimball? That is not split between the two of them, but it's more, we're sick with Kimball through most of the movie. It's most of his point of view, and the cops, the marshals chasing him are, background characters or just like true enemies.
No, I mean, maybe that movie's great, but the movie I watched tonight and had seen before, I'm perfectly fine with the way it played out with Tommy Lee Jones stealing the show, because it's what supporting roles are meant to be. At no point was I like bored or begging fucking Harrison Ford to go away. But, you find yourself from time to time being like, wonder what Gerard's up to right now. We should probably cut back and see what he's doing. It really is just the perfect execution of a supporting role. I thought it was great. And to answer your question, there could be a movie like that that's cool, but I can't unsee or unknow what Tommy Lee Jones does in this movie, and the way this is kind of damn near perfect for me for what it is.
Yes, I think especially during the first 2/3, right before we get into the third act, I was like, holy shit, this is the Die Hard of the 90s. In the sense that Die Hard is Die Hard in the 80s. And I think that Die Hard is a perfect action movie. And I think that it sets the bar for, we've talked about it before in our Fury Road episode, right? Like we were kind of talking about that. What are the pinnacles, right? And obviously you brought up T2. At some point, The Matrix was thrown out there. And I said Die Hard. That movie is just like clockwork. Everything works together. And this one almost gets there. In a little bit, we're going to talk about the ending, because that's where I kind of have some issues, but it just works. It never stops. It hits the ground running, and it just constantly, this thing happens and then this thing happens. It never stops to have characterization. It does. Obviously, that's what all that Harrison Ford saving people, helping people. That's part of it. And all the. Now that we're in real talk, Alex, how do you feel about the riffing or the apparent riffing between these marshals?
I find some of it to be pretty funny, actually,
because that's what gives them character in the end.
Yeah, and my argument would be that these guys work in a line of work that can be very demoralizing, but they also are in a situation where they spend, so much time around each other that they probably do have, like, one, bits to make each other laugh, and two, they would say things that annoy each other because they spend so much time around one another that, it's just inevitable. So the idea that these guys do riff, they know each other's quirks, they know each other's senses of humor, but then also they can just kind of fly off the handle with the hinky thing. It's is that the word, hinky?
Yeah, hinky.
Yeah.
Roebuck does this thing where he barks. So he does a woof woof a couple of times. And I was like, oh, that's a thing they do, huh?
I also love, and who knows if it was improv or not, but when Tom Wood and Newman is at the hospital, he's reporting back to Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones tells him, you stay put there and, interview anyone that you need to. And Tommy Lee Jones adds, and don't let anyone give you shit about your ponytail either.
Yes.
And he's like, I won't.
That guy has that scene, which we didn't talk about in the Newsroom's Corner, where Tommy Lee Jones saves him, right? When they go and they
he shoots Copeland.
Yeah, Copeland. And he has that moment where Tommy Lee Jones tells him, "You think I should have bargained?" And he said, "Yes." And then he gets really close and says, "I don't bargain." And it's like, holy shit, that's chilling.
Yeah.
But then I watched this movie twice. I watched it first without taking notes because I knew it was well regarded. And I was like, oh, let me just take it in without anything distracting me. And then I watched it again. So the second time I was watching it, I was like, this is a really cool moment. But it got me thinking, does he bargain at the end? was that a setup for this, or is it just a cool moment that they threw in there, right? Because at the end of the movie, we never get to a point where he has to learn. I mean, I guess, do you think the movie's telling you that he did the right thing in that moment where he kind of partially and permanently deafens his subordinate while saving his life? Is the movie depicting it like a good thing, or is he saying this guy's reckless?
I think it was necessary. I don't know if it's, I guess that is an interesting, I don't know if the movie wants you to think this deep, but it is an interesting question that it posits about the law and when it's right, when it's wrong, and law enforcement officers and what they're supposed to do in the face of, evidence and whatnot. Again, I don't think the movie wants you to think that deep about it, but
just enjoy that it's so cool the way he said it.
But to your point, it also that you could take that idea and then see that Tommy Lee Jones takes his job deathly seriously on both sides of the equations, be it ensuring justice prevails by gunfire or like saving a guy that he's learned through his own investigation is innocent. He believes in both sides of the coin, which is didn't even mean to say that, but he's going to believe in one side of the coin here in a few episodes when we cover Batman Forever. And that I think we're going to talk a lot about him in this when we get to Batman Forever, because within a 3-year span, he did this, Natural Born Killers, and Batman Forever. And Tommy Lee Jones nowadays, I think I've heard more than one person say he was a one-note actor. And if there's anything that disproves that, I think it's the stretch of those 3 movies. And
please watch his run during the 90s. Case closed.
Case closed. So I don't think him killing Copeland's supposed to be portrayed as a good thing. I will say also that at no point in this movie did I get the propaganda feel, no. I'm supposed to be like cheering for the cops, because it does show. And again, I don't think this movie wants you to look that deep into it, but it's the Batman separation of good cops, bad cops, take from that what you will. But to me, this kind of like this movie makes police officers look like shit. It's like They don't know what they're doing, so like higher ranking officials have to step in to clean up the mess.
It's martial ganda. It's not propaganda.
Could have used a part where Tommy Lee Jones said it's martial law. But yeah, he is unbelievable in this. I was trying to figure out, I just have a note that says holy shit, Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm pretty sure just based on the chronology of my notes here, it's the scene where he interrogates Sykes at his apartment. Yes. Where he's just sitting there and he's doing that thing of he's like fiddling with the pictures, but he's not looking at him. He's looking at Sykes, and the way he proposes his line of questioning, and just that he's looking through the pictures and asking him questions about it. He goes, look at that fish. And like, he kind of holds it out, and he's unreal in this movie, dude. Like there's not, we already said it. All anyone's going to remember is I don't care. But man, he's just when he shows up, he takes complete command of this film and does not let go of it until the end. And I think you and I both have certainly not anything that spoiled the experience, but some qualms with the ending. But goddamn, man, Tommy Lee Jones came to play.
Do you have any idea why Richard Kimball would be interested in these photographs?
No.
Well, where were they taking it? Geez, that's a big fish.
Cancun, Mexico. It was a junket that the company paid for some doctors.
Kimball go with you?
You don't see him in the pictures, do you?
I want to shout out quickly, because otherwise Ryan's going to be mad. Andrew Skatsulas is the guy that plays Sykes, who's one of the main characters in Babylon 5. He plays an alien named Jakar, looks whole reptilian and looks nothing like, I mean, obviously, because it looks like a human here. But I saw his name on the credits, so I kept waiting for him to show up, and then I realized that he was a one-armed man. I was like, oh, yeah, because when you take all the reptilian makeup, that's what he looks like. He's great. He has that big confrontation with Tommy Lee Jones, and the moment that I remember loving is when, I think that's the thing. Tommy Lee Jones is looking at the picture of the fish, and he's like, oh, look at that fish. And then he says something. I think it's when he asks Sykes if Kimball was at that fishing trip. And then Sykes says, well, you don't see him in the pictures, do you? And then Tommy Lee Jones just turns around and gives him a look. And then Sykes just kind of composes himself. He's like, no, I didn't see him. I don't know him. And so he doesn't even have to say anything. It's just the look that he gives him that is just so intimidating. And then he goes back to being friendly. So
it's important to call out that at no point in this movie leading up until the end does Tommy Lee Jones ever turn to one of his partners. He never turns like Joey Pants and goes, I think this guy might be innocent. But he has these little like facial expressions and like mannerisms and body language when he's like learning new pieces of information throughout that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. That's it's great because it's not needed, right? You just see that he starts pulling on certain threads that he shouldn't be pulling. And he's like a smart dude. You can tell the entire scene with Sykes. He can tell that there's something off with that guy, and then confirms it later. And whenever he has his interrogations with Nichols, right? This is a guy that he's just so confident, and he's very, very. He's been doing this for a while. You can tell. So it's a hell of a performance. So the third act, Alex.
Yes, sir.
I don't care. Much like Tommy Lee Jones, I don't care. It's a great movie. I have fun. Right? The movie has you, so you just barrel through. But when you're kind of breaking it down, taking notes, when you watch it back to back, almost consecutively, and overall, because you watch a whole bunch of movies, then there are some things that you can expect to happen, and then when they don't happen, if what happens instead is not as good as what you had in your mind, then that becomes a negative, or stands out. And so it's tough because the movie has been such a, just like the buildup of the excitement. It's every action sequence, every chase seems to have been topping the one that came before. Yes. And then you get to that final confrontation, and even when you take the logic aside, because I don't think it makes any sense, the way that things play out, I gotta understand why Kimball, the only thing that you can say is that he is so rattled by the fact that his friend betrayed him. He's so rattled by the truth that he's uncovered that he just doesn't care anymore. And all he wants to do is have a face-to-face with Nichols, and that's why he just walks into the conference room and, But if you take the logic of it outside, like if you don't worry about logic, it's still kind of it doesn't measure up to everything that's come before. Like as far as that confrontation between Kimball and Nichols, and then even further into the climax when it's Tommy Lee Jones, like the three-way, four-way, even if you count Joey Pants, right? Kimball, Gerard, Cosmo, and Nichols, all four of them in that sort of basement. I kind of feel like it should be more exciting than it really is, just because everything else in the movie was so exciting. And I like how it plays out, right? Cosmo gets knocked out, Nichols gets his gun, and then Kimball saves Gerard in the last minute. But man, compared to some of those chases that we've had before, it's a step down. So that's kind of a bummer because you want to hit, you want to go out with a high. And I guess the counter argument would be that the high is the interaction between Gerard and Kimball after he saved his life. It's what you called out in Couture's Corner, right? He walks right up to the line and then Tommy Lee Jones just lets the acting take over him and go like, yes, you saved my life. Thank you.
Yeah, we're pretty much aligned. The third act, after all the excitement that we've been through in the movie, for him to just kind of walk into a fucking ballroom and be like, liar, that's a tad underwhelming. And then their fight scene becomes almost like a bit of them like running around and chasing each other.
Yeah. And
then they're outside for a minute. That really is only in the film to get a chopper shot outside. And then because they just go back inside and finish their fight in the laundry room.
So Tommy Lee Jones can scream, I don't want to get shot.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Again, he's a real person in this movie because that's exactly like, he's not a cop. A normal agent in that way would not just run into a hail of gunfire. He's like, fuck this, dude. And he's like, get that chopper out of here. And when he tells that it's over and he's like, well, good, because I'm tired. And again, it's a bit of a real person. Yeah, the movie obviously needs that standard twist. I mean, it was you, Hunter. And so I don't have a problem with that. It's just Charlie's just such a stereotypical, just henchman, bad guy number 3 but it wouldn't work, honestly, if it was a showdown between Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. And there is the part of he saves Tommy Lee Jones's life, so it just kind of confirms in his mind that he was right to think this guy was of good character. But yeah, it is kind of funny when they get in the car and then they smile at each other and take off together. And it's like, all right, are they going to go on adventures now? What's going to happen from here? To be fair, a movie like this in the year it came out, I can't tell you how you wrap it up without having something kind of just, okay, here's the bow. But I would say that the third act is not bad. It's just a victim of how awesome the first 2 acts are.
Yeah.
But it's not anywhere near in like a level of, it doesn't derail anything or make me enjoy the movie less. It's just like, yeah, if I want to nitpick this, I could, but it's only because the previous hour and a half have been so fucking killer. And there was a serious lack of hotties. We had Jane Lynch and Julianne Moore in the first 2 acts, and third act we ain't got nothing.
Well, I was about to go there, Alex, because we did kind of jokingly alluded to this being a dude's movie. It's a big sausage fest. You have one woman in Gerard's team. I mean, she doesn't really get to make that much of an impression, only that she is the one woman in the team, right? Because then you have the kid, you have the clown, which is Joey Pants, and then you have, I guess, the other clown, which is Roebuck. And then there's an older guy that meets him at the station, but overall, right? Like, so you have that one character, and then you have Cilla Ward, which honestly, what I think in Conservator's Corner stands. She's gorgeous, but she really doesn't get anything to do in this movie. Jane Lynch, which is mostly the novelty of seeing Jane Lynch, and then Julianne Moore, which is really what threw me off, Alex, because this is a movie from the 90s, and they introduced this very attractive doctor, so she's in his field. She could help him get stuff. When she showed up in the movie, I thought that she was coming in to stay. I thought that she was going to assist him and even develop a romance with him, because it's the 90s. So imagine my surprise when she never came back. She told Tommy Lee Jones, I need to go home, and then that was it.
I'm really tired. I'd like to go home now.
Okay. How's the boy doing?
We saved his life.
Were you surprised, even more so, were you disappointed that we never got Julianne Moore back, or that overall this is a movie where there really isn't a leading lady? It's kind of weird for a 90s movie, for this type of action, of a 90s movie, like an action movie.
Yeah, your standard follow-up to that would be that she like runs into Harrison Ford on the street or something.
Right. Or he's waiting for her.
Yeah. Yes, but also this is such a dude's rock movie that it really, my brain didn't really go there.
Like, I have too much to worry about. I want to worry about Julianne Moore's welfare on top of everything. Just get it out of here.
It's just a game of cat and mouse, man. Yeah, I don't want her to get involved because then her feelings might get hurt. And I mean, if we're being honest here, it's clear that Harrison Ford's been fucking slipping it to Jane Lynch on the side. So, we don't want to fuck up that dynamic.
I think the justification maybe from the writers when they're coming up with this story is like, for all my criticism of the lack of grieving that I sense in Kimball during the movie, it's still, he is grieving. And so maybe the audience would turn on him if he started a romance with somebody that he just met. And so maybe
it's a fair point.
Just play it safe. And he doesn't. They have a very adversarial interaction in the hospital, and then that's it. Yes, it could have gone a different way. He could have said, well, I need your help with whatever it is. And she knows that she can trust him because she knows that he saved that kid's life. And then, they team up and whatever. Even, you could say that it doesn't have to be a romance. Maybe, she can be the sidekick. But I guess part of the fun, part of the coolness of the concept is that he's alone, right? That he doesn't have anybody. The one guy he thinks he might have is actually working against him. So that's, I mean, it stood out mainly because I knew that what the the trope is, what the expectation is with this type of movie from that era. And because it's Julianne Moore. So it's like, really? Like, I had no concept of where in her career this happened. So you got Julianne Moore and then she's gone so quickly. Are you familiar at all with the TV show?
No. What about you?
Nope. I wonder, and I don't know that we have any listeners that are old enough to have grown up with the Fugitive TV show, but maybe this is something that you watched after the fact. For some reason, it's part of your childhood. Maybe your parents watched it, but I'm curious how this plays if you're a fan of the show, because obviously, since neither you or I have any familiarity with the concept, we just take it as like, well, this is the Fugitive. But what is it like when you grow up with the TV show? You know the character from the TV show, you know the type of stories from the TV show, and then you watch this and you're like, this is a good action movie, but it's not the Fugitive, right? Like this, is there a Gerard in the show? Like, is there like a cop that's consistently chasing him? You know, I'd be curious to. I don't know, listeners, if you know anybody that's that fits the bill, that could share their experience of watching The Fugitive, having been a fan of the show, let us know, because I'm curious.
The Fugitive. A QM production. Starring David Jansen as Dr. Richard Kimball, an innocent victim of blind justice.
So, Julio, you said this was your first time watching it, correct?
Yes, first time.
So where does it land for you?
It's a solid 4 stars. It's a story with 4.5, and maybe it should be 4.5. It's one of those things where recency bias, right? I want to temper my reaction. Maybe I'm being unfair. You know, that's those rare occasions where doing it for the show means that I got to nitpick it a little too much. Because at the end, Andrew Davis would tell me like, yes, but did you have a good time? And we're like, yes, I don't care about the logic. But 4 stars for sure, maybe 4.5. I did it to myself too, because, you know, it got into my head that it was the Die Hard of the 90s. And then that meant that I had to constantly compare it to Die Hard as far as how it was hitting those notes. And it's like, well, it's no Die Hard. Few are. But still, amazing movie. It deserves all the praise. The legacy makes sense. Great opening to the Summer of the Bangers. How about you?
I am in full agreement on, I think, almost everything. An A, solid A for me, which like a 4.5. I think 4.5 stars. That sounds good to me. It doesn't miss the landing. It's just the landing is a little flat compared to what preceded it.
There's no applause at the end.
Exactly. But a fantastic piece of business. Tom Lee Jones is incredible. And it's just fun, man. It's a good time at the fucking movies. A hilarious Best Picture nominee, if there ever was one. And a reminder of things used to be kind of fun. And I say that from the year that Schindler's List in Philadelphia won. It's a different time. And we're worse off for not having movies like this in contention for Best Picture anymore.
They killed my wife.
I know it, Richard. I know it. But it's over now.
Well, looking into the future, Julio, you thought you were done after Black Sheep, but Spade and Farley back in the fold, baby.
Yes. Follow up. A super fresh movie with a fairly rotten movie. It's not as low as other movies that we've done. It might be higher than Black Sheep, actually.
I would be astonished if it wasn't.
Yeah, 36%, I think.
Black Sheep is at 29%, and Tommy Boy, our next film, is at 42%.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yes.
So Tommy Boy,
still criminally low.
Friend, patron, past guest, Billy from the We Watch a Thing podcast. He is a one-man crusade for people to appreciate Tommy Boy, and I guess you are too, Alex.
Tommy Boy is amazing.
Yeah, I keep forgetting until I bring it up, and then you get really happy about it. So we'll see. Hopefully, I enjoy it more than Black Sheep. Whatever the case, I'm gonna force myself to say nice things about it next episode. But that is
there's a better chance. Like I would, all joking aside, it's I have that sentimental attachment to Black Sheep that is talked about in our Black Sheep episode. I also have a very strong sentimental attachment to Tommy Boy, but like speaking in terms of like a movie, I think there's a higher likelihood. I'm not going to say you're going to love this, but I will be shocked if you tell me it's worse than Black Sheep. I mean, you know who plays Chris Farley's dad in Tommy Boy?
No.
Brian Dennehy. Like, that's just perfect casting, dude.
Well, man, we've done 2 Chris Farley movies on the main feed, and
oh man, yeah, I forgot about Almost Heroes. That makes me sad.
They both struck out, but third time's a charm. So who knows? There's hope.
And Rob Lowe.
Sure. Illegally Yours is Rob Lowe.
My
Say
God.
no more. Best on-screen duo, by the way. That's the one MTV Movie Award. It won, but it had a bunch of nominations that we'll go over next episode. But that's coming up next. And then on the Patreon channel, our bonus episode for this month is Steel Magnolias. Julia Roberts returns to the Contrarians. We can't stay away from each other. Demanded by patron Ben Murray. And then as far as QVRs, Alex, I propose that we catch up on QVRs because we've been doing so much that we both have QVRs that are really long that we haven't recorded yet. So as we've said in the past few episodes, you have to do Sultan and I have to do Barry Lyndon. And man, I don't know about Sultan, but Barry Lyndon is gonna take a lot of fortitude on my end. So I'm not assigning ourselves any more QVRs this month. Let's just knock those out.
Sounds good.
And then, of course, we have Contrarians After Hours. For Contrarians After Hours, we are going to do something a little related to The Fugitive. Something that's a lot related and something that's a little related. So, Alex, share with our listeners what we're doing for Contrarians After Hours.
All right. Julio proposed that for After Hours, we keep it in the realm of The Fugitive. And that's with the spinoff film from 1998, U.S. Marshals, starring Tom Lee Jones as once again Deputy Gerard. But this time we're adding to the fray Wesley Snipes, Robert Downey Jr. at a very interesting point in his career. Joey Pants is still there. And Daniel Roebuck, Tom Wood returns to the fray. So
the gang's all there.
They're all there. Well, I think it sounds like we're going to be looking all right. So, yeah, not as well received at all as The Fugitive, but head on over to our Patreon to hear our thoughts on U.S. Marshals.
That's not all, Alex. Daniel Roebuck, speaking of Daniel Roebuck, he's also in a movie that you watched 2 years ago, whenever it came out, and then you kept saying that I should watch it, and I finally did. And that movie is The Munsters. Daniel Roebuck plays the Count.
Grandpa.
Sherry Moon's dad in the movie.
This is the Rob Zombie movie, by the way, folks.
Yes. I mean, yes. I guess if you're not a long-time listener, you don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, Rob Zombie's The Munsters. I finally watched it. It's on Netflix.
Have you seen any of the Munsters TV show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unlike The Fugitive, I did have a steady diet of Munsters when I was growing up. So I had something to compare to. So let's do that. It's also tied in because Daniel Roebuck, and he looks very different and acts very differently in The Munsters.
Coming off the heels of our 3 from Hell episode, I think this will be
a little more lighthearted.
No, I think this means every Rob Zombie film has been discussed at least to some extent somewhere in our podcasting history.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, you did tell me about 31 in one of the After Hours. So I think that's, what a realization.
Still working on that Lords of Salem rewatch with Julio, but, hold on hope for that.
Yeah, no. Let's move on. That's it. That's on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/ContrarianPrime. Check it out. And now, Alex, let's get out of here.
Good, because I'm tired. Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rodgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
Just for old time's sake, I really don't care who you see and how much money you make to get